The first week of the season is in the books, but how long can OU and OSU keep winning? That's just one of the questions we'll tackle today on the Week 2 edition of the Bedlam Nation Conversation presented by Dodge. I'm Mike Koehler. Welcome, as always, today to Jake Trotter, OU beat writer, and OSU football beat writer, Scott Wright. Jake, let's start with you. The Sooners are coming off a blowout of UT Chattanooga last week. This Saturday, they have Cincinnati at home. My question's pretty simple. What are the chances of this game either being a real ball game or a bloodbath? What do you say?
Cincinnati absolutely has a chance to come in here and make it a competitive ball game. And it's a 10-win team last year. They're not getting enough credit in the preseason polls. This is the top 25 team. They returned several starters on defense. They got 2 All-American candidates in Mickens and Terrell Byrd at the defensive tackle. And then offensively, they're one of the most prolific offenses in the country. I mean, they have Dustin Garuzza, who started 2 years ago before Mott came in. Dominic Goodman's an outstanding wide receiver. So they have a chance to make it interesting for sure.
What do you expect from OU? Will it be another kind of steady diet of DeMarco Murray and Chris Brown on the offensive side?
Yeah, I think they're going to try to be balanced. Run the ball with Chris Brown and DeMarco Murray and throw the ball downfield to Manny and to Jermaine Gresham. I mean, just to do the same things that they've done. You might see something, a wrinkle here or there, but for the most part, you'll see the offense we've always seen with OU. Will
this be a case of where you look back at this game and it ends up being a pretty good quality win for OU assuming they win on Saturday?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be their best non-conference win when it's all said and done. I mean, Cincinnati has a chance to finish second or third in the Big East. We saw Pitt fall apart last week. So other than South Florida and West Virginia, UC's probably right now the third best team in that league. So you beat the third best team in a BCS league, you're doing pretty good. I mean, that's a nice win.
Do you feel like, what did we learn last week with the 57-2?
Didn't learn anything except that the no-huddle looked pretty good and DeMarco Murray's healthy. I don't think there was really anything else to learn.
Alrighty, thanks, Jake. We'll be back to talk OSU football after this word from Dodge. We're back on the Bedlam Nation Conversation presented by Dodge, now to talk to Scott Wright about the Cowboys. Scott, OSU got what they wanted last week, a win in their opener. Now it's pretty much open waters for the next few weeks. The question that is on everybody's mind is, can they start the year 5-0? And if they do you think they're going to appear in the polls by the time they get to that Missouri game in October?
Yeah, I think that they'll, if they don't crack the top 25, they'll at least be pretty close. They're getting votes already, though only a few right now. But I think there's a good chance. And as far as the 5-0 goes, they're in a really good position to start 5-0 at this point. Really going to Washington State, even though Washington State's maybe not the best team that they'll play. That was the toughest game for them because they did have to go on the road and it was the opener, and they didn't really know anything about Washington State. Houston now is probably the toughest team they have left after what we saw happen to Texas A&M in the home loss to Arkansas State. So, and going into this week, they're in the neighborhood of a 15, 16-point favorite. So this is probably the toughest of their next 4 games, and it doesn't necessarily look to be a real major challenge. So I think there's a really good chance that they start the season 5-0.
I'll ask you what I asked Jake was, what did we learn last week? A much more competitive game. It's hard not to be, for crying out loud. But what did you see that you learned that maybe were some of the questions going into week 1?
Well, there were questions about the defensive depth. I think was the biggest question answered about the defense. They're going to face tougher competition than they did and be pushed more. But they had a third quarter where they hardly got off the field at all, thanks to their own struggles and Parrish Cox's 90-yard kickoff return. So they were on the field for a significant amount of time, and they tested that depth that they've been talking so much about, and it really showed up, and they were able to overcome the mistakes they had on those 2 touchdown drives back-to-back and go ahead and shut the Cougars down the rest of the way. Other than those 2 drives, they only gave up 52 yards the entire game. So the defense played pretty well. I think that was the biggest question that was answered.
Going into Saturday, expect that to be kind of almost a basketball game, up and down with the way Houston plays.
Yeah, there's a lot of Texas Tech influence on that coaching staff. Kevin Sumlin obviously was at Oklahoma the last 4 years. and has some of those principles in his offense as well. And obviously, we know what Oklahoma State does with the no huddle. So yeah, there'll be a lot of up and down, a lot of throwing the ball and lining up and doing it again.
Alrighty, thanks, Scott. We'll be back with the point counterpoint segment of the Bedlam Nation conversation after this message from Dodge. And now it's our point counterpoint segment here on the Bedlam Nation conversation presented by Dodge. Guys, OU stayed ranked number 4 this week, but the big move was USC, who leapfrogged Georgia and Ohio State to take the number 1 spot. Jake, legit or not legit, USC being number 1?
Legit. USC played UVA, destroyed them. Georgia played Georgia Southern. Ohio State played Youngstown State. I think USC obviously had the best win, and that's why they're number 1.
Scott, what do you say?
Number one, it's illegitimate that we have polls at this point in the season anyway. But I don't see what you learned about any of these 3 teams to make you change your opinion from where you put them in the preseason. So I have no idea why any of this should have changed. If you didn't lose, there's no reason for you to drop at this point. Just because of who's on the schedule. If 2 weeks from now, if whoever beats whoever, it's not going to change anything.
He's attacking the whole system now.
Yeah. It's not
we got to work within the system we have.
They're all out of order. Is this kind of do you see any more movement at the top? Barring a loss, if everybody wins these non-conference games like they should, do you see any more movement as dramatic as this?
Ohio State goes and beats USC next weekend, then I see a shift. Probably, I don't think there's a lot of opportunity this week because everybody's pretty equal or off. So I think that the next big movement we could see would be the next weekend when a lot of big games are happening.
Scott, you say, when should the polls be then?
October 20th, because that's my birthday. But no, mid-October.
Isn't that like a Thursday?
Mid-October.
After the Texas game?
Yeah, that's fine. Mid-October, after somebody's at least played a conference game or 2.
Okay, well that's legitimate. All right, we'll be right back to wrap up things with predictions for Saturday's games after this message. And we're back with the Bedlam Nation conversation presented by Dodge. This time, it's time for predictions. Saturday's game. Jake, we'll start with you. What do you see OU doing versus Cincinnati?
I can't remember what I picked in the paper, but I think it's like 42-20, something like that.
No contest then?
No, I think it'll be relatively close. I think it'll be like maybe a 1 or 2 touchdown game at halftime. I think OU pulls away because of the better defense in the second half.
Will halftime be regular? Will we not have an hour and 30-minute halftime?
It's supposed to rain this Saturday, so as long as lightning doesn't hit the scoreboard, we should be okay.
All righty, Scott. What about you? OSU Houston, expecting a big number here. What do you say?
A big number. We'll say 49,532 for the attendance. I don't think they're gonna break the record. But no, for the game, I think Oklahoma State covers the 16-point spread. Really putting it about in the same neighborhood as what Jake had for OU, right around 42-20. I think they've got too much firepower. Houston will find a way to score, but the Cowboys are going to outscore.
He just copied my exact score, didn't he? Exact score.
You guys share one mind sometimes. All right, thanks, guys. That does it for this edition of the Bedlam Nation Conversation presented by Dodge. Be sure to stick with the best coverage team in the state for all your coverage of OU and OSU football on video and in the blogs of newsok.com and every day in print in the Oklahoman.